Time to round up a big topic from the week. There's new information surrounding Hillary Clinton's email scandal. The Washington Post is reporting the company that managed the private email server didn't know the server was wiped. That could mean more than 30,000 emails Clinton says she deleted from the device could be recovered. Deleting isn't the same as wiping a server, which erases the data from the hard drive. That development comes just days after Clinton apologized for using a private email server to conduct public business when she was Secretary of State. The Clinton email scandal is our topic this half hour, and we want to hear from you on our Fox 26 Facebook page. You can also weigh in on Twitter. Be sure to use the hashtag Fox26forlife. Joining us live in the newsroom is our panel led by our senior legal analyst, Chris Tritico, our news analyst, Mustafa Tamiz, and public policy analyst, Jackie Bally. So do you guys think the apology came too little too late for Clinton?
Well, I think she should have addressed this a year ago, quite frankly, and it probably would have died. Everything that I have looked at indicates that she actually did not violate the law by using that private email server. In fact, Colin Powell used a private email server when he was Secretary of State, and President Bush had a private email server in the White House that 20 million emails were deleted from when he left office. And so I don't think she violated the law, but she has allowed the Republicans and her opponents in the Democratic Party to beat her about the head and shoulders with this issue, while she has tried to pass it off as a mere nuisance and joke about it. That's the political problem that she created all by herself, Mustafa.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the bigger issue she's running into is that this authenticity in this election cycle. In order to be authentic, there's a New York Times leak that came out from her campaign that she's going to start being more spontaneous and that she's going to smile more. And so you go, really, you know, you're going to announce stuff like
Exactly.
this that's going to come out in the New York Times that's going to say you're going to be more, you're planning your spontaneity. And it's being mishandled. And so a lot can be blamed on the campaign. But, you know, the Clintons have been around for a long time. This is not the campaign.
She's not her
fault, it's
husband,
fault.
that's for sure. She's not.
Doesn't have the charisma.
She doesn't have the charm. She doesn't have the charisma. Everyone loved her husband. You know, he was the first black president. But
that's what I heard.
I digress. Anyway, everyone loved her husband. She's been voted, or at least polls are showing within her own party that primary voters don't trust her, especially compared to Biden and Sanders. You know, it's bad that now Sanders, who tells everyone he's a socialist, is now leading the polls in Iowa and New Hampshire. She created this situation by herself. The fact that she just didn't come out in the beginning. If she did not do anything illegal, she should have come out in the beginning. She should have explained her situation and said, I messed up. But instead, she made all of these jokes that fell flat. They weren't even funny. She let her own party, her own primary opponents beat her up on it. And guess what? The citizens and voters are believing it, and that's why you're seeing someone like Sanders beating her in the polls.
Now, the Republicans have been, I agree that she has let Democrats beat her up, but the Republicans have been on this from day one, and that's who she should have responded to, don't you think?
She should have responded, and she should have handled this much better than she has. You know, there's a higher threshold in terms of what's expected of her, because she's arguably the most qualified person to run for the United States presidency ever. I mean, she has done a great deal to earn that spot as front runner on the Democratic Party. But this election cycle is defined by Donald Trump. If there was no Donald Trump, all we would be talking about would be Hillary Clinton's email. And so without Donald Trump, you know, this would be a much bigger scandal. But if you compare where the front runner in the Republican side, Donald Trump, is, and who Hillary Clinton is, if Americans have to make that decision between Trump or Hillary, it's a no-brainer.
But let me ask you
Well,
both.
Actually, no. Polls are showing that actually.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, look, I'm saying that Donald Trump represents what Republican voters want, and they might get him.
Well, I don't know if you're seeing a lot of these non-Republicans who are rallying around Donald Trump as well, and polls are showing, including the Washington Post, that if Hillary and Donald were to go head-to-head today, Donald would win.
In the last poll.
In the last poll. That was
Absolutely,
not the case a month ago.
Absolutely. And I think by the time, and I think that when you get to the poll, if it is between Donald Trump and all of his, you know, life experience versus Hillary Clinton, I think the voters will be fine with picking Hillary Clinton.
Well, let me ask you both this, though. This calendar year, she's dropped 30 points in the polls. She's now losing to Bernie Sanders in 2 states. Joe Biden is nipping at her heels. Donald Trump, who was a blip in January, is now leading in every poll. Does she recover from this?
No, she's not going to recover. Everyone has said this. Whenever she was running in 2008, she was the front runner then. She let an unknown black man with a different kind of name, a different sounding name, beat her.
Who was that?
Yeah, the guy who's our president. She let him beat her. She's going to do the same thing again. Residents and voters do not trust her. There's something about her that's never been trustworthy. She continues to fall in the polls. Things like this will come up. It's not just her email scandal. Other things will come up, and if she has, that's what her campaign does. They don't address things directly because she never makes mistakes in their eyes, and that's where her biggest mistake is.
Does she recover?
Clintons never do well as front runners. They really do well when they're underdogs. They tend to come from behind. And I think that's what she's going to do, and she's going to have a fairly significant rally. Because at the end of the day, she is the most qualified person running for the presidency of the United States. And I think voters will see that in the end.
She is no Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was charming. He had a way of charming everybody, a lot of his voters. You even heard Republicans say nice things about Bill Clinton. Hillary can't even get her own party to rally around her.
There's a lot of Republicans who said nice things about her as Secretary of State.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know any.
Do you know any?
John
McCain
Senator
said she was the
McCain
most
has
qualified.
said,
He's a Republican?
Most qualified Secretary of State
Just
ever
because
served.
you have an R by your name doesn't mean you're Republican.
All right.
Just saying.
That's exactly it. The new Republican test is doesn't matter if you have an R next to your name. You have to scream the loudest, and you have to be an obnoxious person. Then you're a good
And
Republican.
according to his polls, you have to be a socialist because that's who
Apparently.
the Democrat
Now, look,
primary are
hang on.
voting.
All right, hang on. We got less than a minute left, so I want to ask you both this about Joe Biden, who is climbing in the polls. Heartfelt every time I see him talk about this, saying, I'm not ready to make this decision on the heels of the death of my son. Is he going to get in?
You know, I don't know, and I don't think he knows. And to be honest with you, I think Joe Biden has done this country a service in terms of how to deal with a loss in a public way. And regardless of whether he runs or doesn't run, his life service to this country will be remembered as one of the leading statesmen and leading person who's devoted his life to the betterment of this country.
I think insiders want him to run because they've continued to see her implode. We all know that the Obama camp and the Clinton camp are not friends, and that's another series that we haven't even seen yet because of this whole email scandal that's taken over her campaign. So whenever we hear Joe Biden's name, it's because the party realizes, look, we can't have this socialist as our primary winner, and right now she's imploding so much, it looks like the Democrats will have that as an option.
All right, we're going to leave it right there. We're going to see where this goes. This changes every day, and we'll see if Joe Biden jumps in, if it really changes the race.